Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central.
All right.
It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we bring you some special stories that you'll be interested in. I don't know what they are yet.
I got one.
Konrad will have the In Wheel Time Car Clinic, and I'll bring you this week's auto news. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Konrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin and David Ainsley. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us. And if you're wondering, well, wait a minute, they promoted for 3 months the fact that they were going to be at the Tailpipes and Tacos. Well, guess what? The weather intervened this morning in the dark of night.
Thunder boomers.
Yeah, big ones. And what did you get, about 10 inches of rain out at your house this morning?
It was like Harvey rain for maybe about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, we didn't get that. We just got a little here.
No, I had some good downpour, but it wasn't. It was like for just a couple of minutes.
But the lightning was way too close.
Yeah, it was a lightning show over here.
When the lightning had hit the ground and the ground would shake and the thunder would happen at the same moment, the lightning, that was way too close.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were in an EV when that happened. Wow.
Does that charge your
Would
car?
it charge it? Yeah, really. Yeah. Drive around with a little
I'm ready.
Antenna.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Antennae.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Kind of like the Back to the Future DeLorean.
It's getting to be that time of the year again when we start thinking about the Indy 500.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about the Indy 500 and new cars, what do you think of? The pace car.
Oh, okay.
While the clock ticking on the Chevy Camaro production ends in January, a special run of 50 cars might end up being one of the most valuable of the sixth-generation pony car. Chevrolet providing 50 festival event Camaros for use during May at the Indy 500 and in the Indianapolis area. Cars are all convertibles, all powered by 455 horsepower, 6.2-liter engines, and all the same cosmetically. Shark skin metallic paint gray, with ash gray leather interior and, of course, Indy 500 graphics. Chevy spokesperson Kevin Kelly said the cars will be offered for public sale sometime after the 500, most likely through the Indianapolis area Chevy dealerships. No word on pricing. But these cars have a unique Chevrolet option code and likely won't come cheap. I can only imagine.
Well, and there are people who collect Indy pace cars, and the difference.
Who would have ever thunk that?
And some of the differences are, and people should know the differences. There's usually 2 or 3 that actually work the track. So, you have the car that actually paces. There's always a backup car that paces. There's generally a vehicle there for the medical director at the track.
Well, they put the drivers in them and parade the drivers around.
Well, those are the parade cars. Right. Now, the parade cars
part of that 50.
Are part of that 50. But those cars are probably less valuable than the on-track cars.
But you know what's funny? Remember the day it used to be they had these dummy cars that were the parade cars, and then they had to increase horsepower and do something to the suspension of the actual pace
get
cars.
on the track. Right.
They don't have to do that anymore.
No, not anymore. And then the parade cars are also used in the downtown parades.
Yes.
So all of the
which is a huge event. Have you ever been?
No, I've been twice with Oldsmobile, and I had to work the parade as well with the the '88 Oldsmobile Cutlass, and then the. We also did the Cutlass Sierra, the little red one. So, relatively involved in those. Lots of fun. Lots of fun doing that. Lots of stuff going on in and around the track.
Wasn't A.J. Foyt involved with the Oldsmobile car, the Aurora, at one time?
Well, the Aerotech.
Aerotech, is that what it was?
Which was the land speed record holding car. It was actually a March chassis, and they had a turbo or a twin turbocharged quad 4 engine in them, and then they also had the Aurora V8 in them. And he was out at Fort Stockton setting time distance speed records.
But he also put that car on the Indy 500 track, if I'm not mistaken.
When the IRL, what was called the Indy Racing League, happened, the Oldsmobile was one of the sponsoring engines. And at the time, there were only 2 sponsoring engines. It was Oldsmobile and Infiniti, which was a Nissan V8, and it was a 4-liter naturally aspirated V8, and it was the Oldsmobile Aurora engine. And then they kind of switched it around and went to a 3.5 V8, and then it went to a 3.5 V6, and now I think it's a little turbo 4-cylinder. that's in the Indy cars. But yeah, what was called at the time the Indy Racing League, Oldsmobile was an integral part of that starting up, and then eventually it transitioned into a Chevrolet engine at the IRL. And now I think it's Chevrolet and Honda are the two engines that are at Indy.
Why? I don't understand. I understand it's extremely expensive, stupidly expensive. But, you'd think that Ford would have an entry. You would think that there would be another Japanese or at least some foreign car that would have an entry in it. They're all in Formula One.
Right.
What's the difference?
Well, where do I want to spend my $100 million?
Well, I mean, they sell as many Mercedes-Benz as they do most other cars here in the United States. You'd think that there would be a Mercedes.
So again, we go back to the conversation we had earlier. If I sell 1 million cars and I spend $100 million in a racing program, $100 of that car is applied towards the racing program. Chevrolet does that because Chevrolet's racing in so many different venues,
right,
different series and stuff. Quite a large cost of a Chevrolet car or truck is to their racing programs. Mercedes spends multiple hundreds of $1 million in a Formula One, as does, the other engine manufacturers in F1. Chevrolet probably spends a couple of $100 million in NASCAR, as does Ford, as does Toyota. And then what's going on?
Do you think it's that much?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
And speaking of NASCAR, what are they going to do when there's no more Camaro and Mustang is charging on as the body of choice in NASCAR?
Ask Mary Barra. She's so smart.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ooh. Well, okay.
Was that kind of snotty?
A little bit.
Yeah,
But
it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Dripping out of both
Besides the
nostrils.
ugliness involved in that, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, because I don't know. What are they going to do? A Chevy Bolt on the track? Because Chevy doesn't sell any cars anymore. Everything's an SUV. I have no idea what they're going to do.
Well,
Is NASCAR
Are
going
they
to
going to go to
allow
Cadillac?
Dodge Hornet.
the Dodge Hornet?
Dodge can't compete because of the Hemi engine. Can't compete against a.
Is NASCAR going to allow older vehicles to run? I want to say there was a period of time where NASCAR, the vehicle couldn't be more than 3 years old. So generally it was always the latest generation of the vehicle. But even when they had the Winged Warriors back in the late 70s, there was a period where you could run the winged car, but it had to have a 305 cubic inch engine in it. It wasn't allowed to have the Hemis or the 440s because they were trying to slow the car down. So some of those guys were running 3-year-old cars, but still running the Daytonas and the Superbirds. They were just restricted in the size of the engine that was in them, and they just liked the aerodynamics that much. So I don't know, is NASCAR going to do something like that to allow older cars to run? I would assume so, because I think NASCAR wants to keep General Motors in the program somehow.
Well, General Motors wants to get out without the revenue, without paying.
Yeah, well, they're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
NASCAR's not going to let them play without paying.
Well, I just can't.
Maybe that's why they're going to Formula One.
Oh, yeah,
with
I'm
Andretti
excited.
and Cadillac.
Oh, I'm excited.
Well, they must have some plan in place because NASCAR sells probably the majority of the Camaros through NASCAR.
Well, through the program, yeah. Because people recognize that vehicle as a Camaro.
Right.
Whether there's any Camaro in it or not, I don't think so.
Well,
but
it just looks that way.
Yeah.
Well, and it's in all the NASCARs. It's just the top and the deck lid or something.
The silhouette of the body,
right.
yeah.
And what's going to happen in drag racing?
Yeah.
Well, John Force is going to find another manufacturer.
No,
that's
what's
gonna
Erica
spend-
going to do?
I should probably run it.
Well, you got to
Shit.
look at what they're doing, though. Look at what Elite's doing. The Quadra family has actually become relatively competitive with their Ford-powered Mustangs. Does she switch over to a Mustang? You got to remember, she played in the Hemi field a couple of years ago, and that turned out to be a bit of a disaster.
Well, it was a different
because
team,
they can't,
different time.
again, they can't compete in drag racing with the Dodge engine.
Right.
Because the engine isn't built. It's got a different wedge angle to it. There's certain components that are inherent.
That don't work.
Inherent in the Dodge.
So do they
engine.
switch over to the Mustang program because the Quadras are having some
But
success?
all of the research, all of the speed comes from all of the years of working with the Chevy engine. And so now you're
And the
going
aerodynamics they've built into the Camaro.
right, and now you're going to change that over to a Ford.
Well, but they've been testing Quadra now for almost 5 years in the Mustang.
Yeah.
So they've spent a lot of time testing the Mustang program.
And NASCAR is the one vendor supplier type program too. So one vendor supplies all the nuts, the bolts,
chassis.
the things to all those teams. So, and they're having problems with that. They're having problems with.
Well, that's what got Hendrick in all the big trouble because whatever the vendor was supplying was junk.
It was not a
And
correct part, and they had to modify it, and they got fined and whatever the case. But to that respect, I mean, they were supplying all the parts for the engines for the Fords, for the
because they're
Toyotas,
trying to keep continuity
exactly.
between the teams.
And then when you have one hiccup like that, it ripples through the whole racing.
So now there's a thought. How about doing Toyotas to replace, like Erica's car, all the Chevys on the drag strip?
Well, you're just going to have Toyota and
or
Ford.
whatever.
But does Toyota make a V8 that's capable of going NASCAR racing? And
they race in NASCAR.
Toyota's already racing NASCAR.
Yeah, well, that's the truck engine
No.
out of the Tundra. No, do they make a V8 that's capable of doing what they do in NHRA? I said NASCAR, I meant NHRA.
I don't know. I would like to think that engine.
And who's been testing and tuning it to get it there so she can be competitive?
I don't know.
Even though this year she's kind of struggled a bit in the beginning of the year.
Well, it's
I'm
still
not sure
just
what
so
all
the
that's
season's starting.
There's something else going on behind the scenes that we don't know.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but something is. Because at this time of the year, we're already 2 months in.
Well, we're only 3 races in. Is it 3 or 4?
3. This is the fourth.
This is the 4th race.
Yeah. Well, at the 4th race, she's usually if she's not winning, she's at least runner up.
Right. She hasn't. I think she's gotten to the second round once.
Yeah.
There's another headset in that box there, Mike.
I don't have anything to plug it into. But what I was going to say, one thing I've noticed on her Facebook postings and stuff, they're adding onto the shop. They're making their shop for their race cars. I think they're almost going to double it. They've been selling off trucks. They've been selling off their RVs that they use for support vehicles. I mean, they're doing a lot of selling and buying, so they've got a lot of stuff going on that generally you think happens in the off season, and they're doing it now. So I'm kind of wondering, like you say, there's something else going on. Maybe there's a little bit of distraction because they've got so much other stuff
that makes sense.
That's going on off the track.
And look at Antron starting his own team, his own business. Antron struggled a little bit, and they're finally getting that path to where everything's gelling.
And does Elite and Enders understand? They understand what's going on. Probably have a better insight to it than we do, knowing the loss of the Camaro and how is that going to affect their team.
Well, and the fact that she's been qualifying in the middle of the field is surprising to me all the time. She's consistently in the middle of the field. Now, granted, that's only thousandths of a second off, but that's the win or lose factor in that particular.
And to a degree, being out-qualified by Jag, which is the same team, same engine builder, being out-qualified by Bo Butner, which is the same engine builder as well.
Teammate.
What is going on? I have no idea.
Yeah,
call Greg. Let's have him on the show and ask him.
Or Erica.
I don't think that'll work. Huh?
No, I don't think that'll work.
I don't think we'll get
We
Erica.
don't want to get Erica in trouble.
And that could also compound things. I mean, if they're realizing that there's a little bit of pressure going on because of it, and they know, but they got to get past all this stuff to get to where they're going, whether it be the new cars or new contracts. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on with that team.
By the way, before we get too far, I did want to mention to everybody again that the Tailpipes and Tacos event that we were supposed to be at the Cruise Inn today for God's Garage was postponed because of the weather overnight, and it's supposed to storm again tonight.
But thanks for showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
David,
I was there.
We apologize for that. And we'll announce the date in a future show here real quick.
David left us a bar tab.
The other thing is Mecum Auctions. They've been kind enough to sponsor our show here the past few weeks, and we certainly appreciate that. That show is now underway. Collector cars, 10 o'clock this morning is when they started running across the auction block, and I understand it's going to be on TV all day today on MotorTrend.com, if I'm not mistaken.
And wasn't it stated that Houston may have the largest revenue so far in Mecum's history.
Could be, but we won't know that till the end today.
Because of the one collection that they brought. Have you looked at what
39 Corvettes? I think it was like about $10 million.
The Nakona collection,
What a collection of cars, though. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. And, you find it interesting that these big collections, to my knowledge, they go to Mecum.
Mm-hmm.
Not Barrett Jackson, not the other auction companies, but to Mecum. And so obviously Mecum's doing something right.
Well, they have that aura of collector cars, where to me Barrett Jackson is more of I think they do a little bit more high-end European stuff than Mecum does. Though Mecum will run some high-end European stuff through. I think Mecum and muscle cars tend to go hand in hand.
I would agree with that.
Well, at any rate, those are a couple of things that I did want to mention before the end of the show today. And when is our next remote, Mr. Mars?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah, well, kind of.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Hot Rod Tour of Texas.
Right.
We've been trying to get a hold of Bobby Sparkman, but clearly he was out drinking last night and was not with us today. Mars couldn't get a hold of him.
He's probably hugging the porcelain
bus. Or the Popo
driving the porcelain bus.
Yeah. So we'll make fun of him for that when we do talk to him. Mm-hmm. And so that's coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll be leaving on Thursday. Yes. And driving down to Victoria. And there is a registration event where you have to say, hey, I'm here.
And Leslie's going with you this time.
Yep. And Leslie's going to go with me this time. Last year, she had a wedding to go to and couldn't go with me. So, at any rate,
you thought hanging out with your car buddies was more important than going to her friend's wedding.
I wasn't invited to the wedding, okay?
Well, I just wanted to poke that bear.
Yeah, well, I wasn't invited. And I know you would have showed up, but I didn't because I have a little bit more manners than that. Mars.
3 or 4.
Shut up, Mars.
David, how are you? How's it going, buddy? You all right?
Yeah.
David's been around to see the previous 3.
No. He's only been around to see 2.
Okay.
2. Mm-hmm. But do we have to go there?
No.
We always wind up having to go there.
At least a little bit.
No.
It's okay. Hey, I can't go back and change the past. Wish I could.
No, you don't. You don't wish you could because you got 2 beautiful daughters.
I do. I do have 2 beautiful daughters. Matter of fact, I'm going to babysit tonight.
Well, that's right. You're talking about that.
Oh, boy, I want to see that. Pop up changing a muddy diaper.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Here, glad you're home. The kid's dirty. Been dirty for 4 hours. That's why they're crying.
The show is going to be recorded, right? On the Texas tour, not
live. You have
live.
to talk to Mr. Mars.
Not live.
You got to talk to Mr. Mars.
Yes.
We could put a microphone in your car.
Are you ready to do that?
No.
Yeah, we'll have Leslie hold it for you while you're driving and drinking.
I'm not drinking while I'm driving. No, we'll reserve that to after the evening hours, yeah. And where are we going to be on Friday night, Mars? New Braunfels?
Yep.
And then on Saturday.
Isn't that where the movie is?
That's where the movie is.
Yeah.
Hollywood Nights.
Hollywood Nights.
And Don can quote most
Lawrence
of the movie.
of Arabia.
We'll be
Should have pulled that string.
Are you going to go with us?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, yeah? Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to be in the same
aisle.
aisle.
I'm going to be the bellhops bringing your cocktails out.
There won't be any of that, but you can bring the hot dogs.
You and Mars going to ride in the truck together?
No.
Okay. No. Go to the drive-in together in the truck?
Not just no, but hell no.
That's the way I heard that.
We'll see how fast the Infinity can go and try to catch Mars.
Are you going to take the Infinity?
I might.
Good. Well, you're welcome on the Hot Rod Tour part of it. You can come on. Bring the in-wheel time truck.
You can get on the tour. You just can't go to some of the private events.
There are no private events.
Well, the private events like the drag strip and
yes, you can.
The movies.
They're
no, you have to have a ticket to get in.
They're sold out.
Yeah. There are some events you
but
can't.
Don's got stroke with Bobby Sparkman. Don's got so much stroke. Bobby showed up this morning for an interview. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that didn't happen.
I want you to know that I paid the full price to go on the Hot Rod Tour in Texas.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not asking for any favors.
No,
but what I'm saying is that.
But I should have gotten it for free.
But
just saying,
if David can do the tour. He just can't go to some of the private events. Is what I'm saying.
He can go.
Don will sneak them in.
No. Of all the stuff that we've done for them, I think that they could. There's an exception to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, you know about that.
Yeah, he's at the end of the table.
He's at the end of the table, so shut up.
Mars is exceptional.
Time now for the car clinic. Ready?
Well, and this kind of leads into a little bit of what you were talking about earlier. Of batteries do not make electricity; they store electricity that's produced elsewhere. Most of that electricity is made primarily from coal, uranium, natural gas, hydroelectric power. So there's an expense in generating that electricity that is off the vehicle itself. So all this stuff about how going electric is going green is kind of a bit of a farce, in my opinion. So 40% of the electricity generated in the United States is from coal-fired power plants, and 40% of the EVs on the road are basically coal-powered vehicles. It takes the same amount of energy to move a 5,000-pound gasoline-driven automobile a mile as it does the same amount of energy to move an electric one. The only question is, what produces the power? To reiterate, it does not come from the battery. The battery is only a storage device, kind of like a bottle that holds water. The bottle doesn't generate its own water. You have to put water in it, just like electricity. There are two orders of batteries. There's a rechargeable or a single-use battery. So when you go buy the Duracell, that's a single-use battery. Now you can buy a rechargeable battery that's generally about 3 times the price of a single-use battery, and you can recharge it so many times until eventually it won't take a charge anymore. But most common single-use batteries, are what we use in lanterns and radios and stuff. Those dry cell batteries use zinc, manganese, lithium, silver oxide, and carbon to store the electricity. They all use some form of toxic heavy metals. So even the electric cars use toxic heavy metals in their battery packs. The rechargeables battery only differ in their internal materials, usually lithium ion, nickel metal oxide, nickel cadmium. The United States uses 3 billion of these 2 battery types a year. And most of those are not recycled. They end up in landfills. California is the only state which requires all batteries be recycled, even the AA, AAA, C-type batteries. Those are all supposed to be recycled. If you throw your small used batteries in the trash, here's kind of what happens to them. The batteries are self-discharging. That means even though they're not in use, they leak tiny amounts of energy, which is what causes that little white corrosion you see if you leave a battery inside a device too long. So that corrosion is relatively toxic. So don't be, putting it on your fingers and then going to eat without washing your hands. Right. When a battery runs down, it can no longer power a light or a toy. You think of it as dead. Well, it's not. It continues to leak those small amounts of electricity for quite some time, and those chemicals inside of it will run out, and the pressure builds inside. You'll see some of those batteries will actually swell up over time, and it cracks, and the toxic metals that are left inside of them starts to ooze out. That ooze will ruin your flashlights and whatever device that you left them in. All batteries will eventually rupture. It just takes rechargeable batteries longer to end up in the landfill. A dry cell battery, there are all in addition to the dry cell batteries, there are all kinds of wet cell batteries, which is like what's in your car. What's in your car is a battery that has sulfuric acid and water, and then the two dissimilar metals are what create the electricity. The good thing about 90% of those wet cell batteries, they tend to be recycled more frequently. Unfortunately, we do not yet know how to recycle the single-use batteries properly. So just a thought about what's going to go on with as we move to pure electrics as vehicles. What's going to happen with all of those salvaged vehicles?
And the batteries that are in them.
And the batteries that are in them. You go to some of these salvage yards and they have a dedicated space in the salvage yards for EVs that have a different fire suppression system in that space to deal with those if they get an electrical runaway fire.
Mm-hmm. Well, the EPA on Wednesday unveiled its strictest ever limits on vehicle tailpipe pollution, a regulatory move that could spur greater sales of electric vehicles in the U.S. The proposed emission standards cover the 2027 to 2032 model years for light and medium-duty vehicles, coupled with federal incentives and other investments. They could accelerate the ongoing transition to EVs while clamping down on harmful pollutants in the transportation sector. Under the proposal, EVs could make up 67% of new light-duty vehicle sales and 46% of medium-duty vehicle sales in 2032. There's that. And specialty auto insurer Hagerty.
All right.
Is cutting an additional 4% of its workforce just months after a 6% cut as it seeks cost savings. Hagerty, based in Traverse City, Michigan, reported in a Wednesday filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission that it will trim 83 more jobs across the company to meet growth and profitability goals. In other words, the bean counters have gotten in there. Hagerty,
but they never lose their jobs.
Hagerty would not say when the layoffs take effect. The cut comes after Hagerty reduced the workforce in December by about 6%, or 103 employees.
Did they reduce your rates?
Well, I'm not a Hagerty person, and we've tried to get what's her name? Angelica Brothers to advertise with us. Can't. Well, there's why. Because
she's busy keeping her job.
She might not even have a job.
Right.
Who knows? I don't know. Haven't talked to her in quite some time.
Hopefully she's not affected by it.
Well, at any rate, there's that. And what if ordering food in the car didn't mean contending with slow-moving drive-through lanes? That's the premise of a new offering from Domino's that can turn cars themselves into ordering devices via Apple CarPlay. Domino's is working with them to integrate the app with CarPlay, which turns a car's infotainment system into a connected iOS device. Other restaurants on the system include Dunkin' and Panera.
Oh, I thought he was going somewhere else with that. I thought he was going to say Domino's is going to create a metallic oven you can put underneath the hood of your car and keep your pizza warm on the way home.
It's next week.
Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around, and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise-in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6, or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then.
Mecum Auctions, the world's largest collector car auction company, returns to Houston, April 13th through 15th at NRG Center. Featuring 2,000 muscle cars, Corvettes, exotics, customs, and more. Broadcast live on Motor Trend TV and Motor Trend Plus. From avid collectors to those new to the Mecum experience, we welcome everyone. Register to bid now at mecum.com.
You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. When you're online, check out our Facebook page and give us a like. Tell your friends about us. Share our junk if you would, please.
Yep.
You'll get Konrad's unicorn hunting features, along with all things automotive all week long that go on and on and on, including new car reviews, upcoming events, cruise-ins, racing events, and other informative and entertaining car and truck goodies. You can find the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show 24/7 on the iHeart Radio app. Be sure and check In Wheel Time Car Talk on our live video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central. Daily 30-minute podcasts are available from over a dozen of the most popular podcast providers. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is David. He's right there. Ainsley, our Marketing Advertising Advisor and Video Technical Director, is We Need More, Jeff Zekin. For booking agent and podcast pumpkin, Mike Out of This World Mars, along with Mr. Know-It-All, his royalty king Konrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. Be sure and join us again for the next live 3-hour In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, Saturday, April 22nd, 2023, on all of our In Wheel Time Car Talk outlets, right here on the Smoke and Mirrors Network, 8 to 11 a.m. Central Time. Have a great weekend. So long for now. That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.